Let's go to the phones now and talk to Dianne in Flowery Branch. Hey, Dianne, how are you?
Oh, fine, thank you, and hope you are the same.
Great.
I heard you speaking yesterday about that illegal alien that killed the college student.
Yes.
And you brought up the fact that if they go for the death penalty, he could sit for 25 years in prison. And then this morning I heard Caleb Hutchins talking to the attorney in Athens who talked about the process of filing charges, the defense, discovery, and all this kind of stuff. And then I heard you talking just a few minutes ago about how there are so many orders for deportation, but the federal government is not doing it. The big question that I have not heard anybody address yet is, when did illegal aliens get the right of due process in America? It's going to get to the point where our courts, if they're not already, are going to be clogged up with all the legal cases for illegals, and Americans are going to never get their day in court. And if the federal government's not going to deport them, just like Texas is having to take matters in their own hands, it may come to the point where the states were going to have to start ordering summary execution or the death penalty in order to be able to try to put some stem to the tide. What are your thoughts about it, Martha?
So first of all, thank you for listening. That's great. Thank you so much, because we appreciate that you listen to multiple of our programs. And to the point about due process, it's a great point. And here's what's supposed to happen, Dianne. What's supposed to happen is that if somebody comes in for a felony charge, what is supposed to happen is ICE is supposed to be notified. And sometimes if it's not, this is the way it's supposed to work. It's not working this way right now. If it's not a violent crime, but it's a felony, then they're supposed to go ahead and deport it. Sometimes when it's a felony crime that is violent, like rape, murder, that sort of thing, then the state, which is who is really trying this, the state wants to try that person for that crime, have them serve the time here, because then they are certain that the person will serve the time, and then deport them back. That's in a perfect world if everybody's following the law. Okay? We have this thing that started to happen, I guess, and you can help me with this, Dianne. I guess 15 years ago, I never heard the term sanctuary city. I had never heard of somebody saying we're not going to follow the law, right? We never, who in the world would say you're not going to follow the law? Yeah. So to your point, the due process question gets answered based on the type of crime it is. And I would rather, quite frankly, have this guy go through trial here and know he's going to get some kind of punishment than to send him back to Venezuela, where he'll probably just come back and then commit a crime again.
That's true, but we keep hearing talk every year about how many more prisons are being built in every state and county. And it flabbergasts me.
Well, and I'm so glad you brought up Texas, Dianne, because if you look at the numbers, Texas is almost shut down the amount of people crossing illegally. If Texas is not the case for having a wall, I don't know what is, because they have gotten their crossings down to, it's not nothing. It's never going to be zero, right? You're always going to have somebody that can get through. But it's almost zero. And yes, they've pushed them to New Mexico, Arizona, and California. And California is a sanctuary state, so they're letting everybody in. But the business of, I'm glad Texas is doing what they're doing, and it's very interesting because the Supreme Court did rule against them. But the ruling was the federal government could take the fence down. Texas didn't tell Texas they had to take it down. So Texas didn't take it down, and the federal government doesn't have the guts to take it down. And so I think things are going to change. But it's a mess, and I think that people that are elected officials are still defending these policies, but real people, Democrats, Republicans, and independents have had enough. They've had enough. This is not being...
Our tax dollars paying for prisoners in prisons to be able to live and sleep and eat, what they call that, 3 hots and a cot, being paid for by tax dollars. The thought of having illegals who are killing our citizens to be able to spend 25 years in a prison on our dollar, that's just what burns me.
Dianne, thank you so much for your call today. And I want to just close this segment, this half hour out with these numbers, because they're important. We're not anti-immigrant. We immigrate 1.1 million a year legally, which is more than the rest of the world combined. We are not the largest country in the world, okay? But we immigrate more than the rest of the world combined. You can take every country, add up who they allow to come in, we immigrate more. On top of that, since Joe Biden has been president, it's been about 2.5 million more a year. On top of that, that's 4% of our population in 3 years have come in. We've got to allow people, let's assume they're all legal. They're not, but let's assume they are. You have to give them a chance to assimilate. You can't just keep letting people come through. There is a lack of reason in how we are dealing with this issue. And we have to start looking at this with reason. And I'll finish with this. Barack Obama and Donald Trump did a better job than Joe Biden, and they had the same laws to deal with it. This is not a partisan issue. This is right and wrong. We'll be back.